Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in on another episode of the Evolve Podcast and episode. Stay right with me. You don't want to miss out. We're going to journey through another episode, so stay right with me.
The information provided in this podcast is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, this podcast takes full responsibility for its own content shared. Music used in this episode acknowledges and credits the artist. Royalty-free music used with permission granted. This podcast may offer links to other sites, thereby enabling you to leave this site and go directly to the link site. This podcast is not responsible for the content of any linked site. Such links are for the convenience of the user visiting this podcast. This podcast isn't responsible for loss or damages or misinformation provided from those links shared. All shared links resources have been validated by the site provider.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me, coming back on the Evolve Podcast and episodes. Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you? I know it's been a minute. I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me. You already know this is the Evolve Podcast and episodes. You know, this is the podcast that builds one another up, shares your opinions, your thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and your feelings, where you're never outcast for being who you are. Welcome, everyone. Well, in this episode, I wanted to give my thoughts on the abuse of, Cassie, the video, as well as share my thoughts on the subject of I love you too much to stay and let you hurt me. So let's begin our episode. So I know a lot of people are commenting on the Diddy and Cassie video of the behavior of Diddy, but I wonder, why is it such a surprise? That's what's getting me. Why is it's such a surprise? She had already spoken out about the abuse, but like so many people do, because of who he was, not many people believed her, not until the video surfaced, right? Well, every day it's someone being abused, and it is not even noticeable, of how many of these relationships end up with a woman or man hurt badly or even killed because of it. Many never come to grips, of a public figure or a rapper or whoever, can't, imagine them behaving, in the way that they have. No one can. And many who have money are above the law. They can buy their freedom, while the woman is left to heal on her own and the best way she can. How awful. We don't even realize the hell that she has been through, and after the abuse, what she is still having to experience. Then many look at them, at the victims, they look at them crazy for even speaking out about it. I know, because I had it done to me. I've been through it. The first thing I was told was, well, it must have been something that you did to cause it. I couldn't cause it because I always talk things through. I like to talk things through. I wasn't the one that was the aggressive one. Then I'd be told, well, you must have done something in your past that now you're getting it back to you. That victim blaming. Yes, that victim blaming. It plays very well in a lot of these domestic abusive relationships. Well, then I never taught anyone to abuse me. I was introduced to the behavior in the relationship by the other person. I didn't like it, but from that day onward, it left uncertainty and fear of, me voicing my opinion or having to watch what I say, because the other person may act, the way they did when having introduced the behavior previously. For example, I had wanted to go to a drive-in. I wanted to go to the drive-in, but the other person, he got angry because he wanted to stay in, and he wanted to watch the Cops episode. That was when Cops was really big. The Cops had come episodes. He wanted to watch that. So we had got into this argument, and he burst in anger, and he took his, index finger and he put it up against my forehead. And to avoid the shouting, that I could see coming, and, being at that time, I was 3 months into my pregnancy, and trying to avoid his shouting, I got out of the vehicle because I was so upset. I slipped and fell. Luckily, my baby was okay. But from that day forward, I always had a fear of having, a regular, conversation or even communicating with him, because of, it could just turn, into a huge argument, But it taught me how he would behave, when that happened. It taught me how he could get and how he would behave, and how I would always be on guard, when an argument or when a fight broke out. Although I learned to fight and stick up for myself, I never felt as I did before that happened. I just never felt the same. I always had fear and always was on guard. That person today is no longer in my life, and he would never confess his behavior, but would always tell others how I'd fight back and how I'd behave, but he would never confess to what he introduced into our then relationship and so forth. So that explains why, we could never agree to disagree, and why it would never work out after that. Denial plays a big part, in men who behave this way. They will deny, and maybe they're going through things, on their own, but a woman isn't a punching bag. A woman shouldn't be the one you take out your frustrations on, and vice versa. If you can't stand rejection, or you always have to be the pushover in the relationship, then don't be in a relationship, pushing your behavior on another person because you have issues. If you can't stand to be rejected, then don't get in a relationship. Whatever issues you had growing up with mama or daddy or whoever, seek help, but don't take it out on another person, because if a woman or man decides to end it, it's her or his right to do so. You can't make someone keep putting up with your bad behavior, disrespectful behavior, mistreatment. It's not right. And whether you're a man or a woman who is being abused, you don't have to go through that and put up with this kind of behavior. I think personally laws need to be changed. And maybe this Cassie, thing, this big thing of Cassie, maybe it will get changed, but the laws need to be changed. In that if you are an abusive person and behave this way, and even continue to stalk, harass, keep tabs on, hacking phones, or anything that just doing things that have disturbed the victim's peace and freedom, the abuser shouldn't be privileged in having their freedom, period. If it's okay in locking up murderers, you can lock up abusers who are attempting to do the same, because that's what they're doing when they're abusing someone. They're attempting to murder that person. Or hurt that person. So an abusive person can get out of jail quicker than a thief. And that's bad. That's bad. There's something wrong with our system, as well as abuse within it as well. But to ask for help, while some of these organizations are phony, and we'll see a woman walk out of a shelter right back into the abuser's hands. Why? Because it's not enough being done to keep her safe, and not enough activities or groups during the day to keep her mind occupied. So inside she is reliving the abuse. Then he is calling all day, so she will then answer his call, and there you go, out the door. Then a few months later, she's back with a black eye, and even some women died behind this abuse and going back and forth. It's not taken seriously about the abuse one may have suffered. They don't believe you, and you're right back in the same situation. It's hard to imagine, but it's some really sick people who are sitting in these seats with these positions. Who knows how dangerous it is, but we'll see you right back in the same situation. I never judge anyone, because I wasn't there. And if you see I know that if you see a bruise or hear shouting, 9 out of 10, that person is, that person is abusing the victim, I know because I've been through it. I have been asked why you speak out, why you speak about it. Well, why not? Because I'm not like you. I don't believe in seeing another person, and having it happen to her, because his behavior won't change. It won't stop. But people who know him knew he could get angry, but then others who knew would just smile and look me in my face and continue conversing with him and even would befriend him. This person was just good at hiding who he was, and it continued until I walked away for good. And it was one before me, and I'm sure it's one after me, and probably, going on still is to this day, because he was never held accountable for his behavior. And even after many attempts and, trying to get him to be held accountable, it was never taken seriously. He could charm you on the spot out of everything you owned. He was that good, and anyone would believe him. Probably still believes him today. If another, spoke out about it, while, I hope they do if it happens to them, because he's a ticking time bomb ready to explode. But no one would believe in his behavior, not until it's shown, something surfaced. Probably not even with that, because it's the way many in our society are thinking today. It really is sad, so maybe Cassie can get things changed for victims. I pray for a change, because I love you too much to stay and let you hurt me. You heard it right. Well, did you enjoy this episode? Well, if you enjoy this one, be sure to go back and listen to the previous episodes on awareness. It's worth every ear to listen. Would you like to know more about being a supporter of this podcast? See and click the link in the episode description. If you'd like to send a topic suggestion or questions or concerns, want to be a guest on Evolve? Well, why not send your concerns to evolvetopics@gmail.com. This is Tialonda. I want to say thank you for listening in, and don't forget, if you like the topics that this podcast brings, which we will have many, many more, one coming up for sure is youth being in adult prisons. We're going to talk about that in one of these episodes coming our way. But if you'd like to show your support by purchasing, your very own Evolve Podcast t-shirt, if you would like to do that, for more, click the link below. And again, I want to say thank you for the support, and I'll see you on the next episode of Evolved.